our first returning episode of a Dark Cup of Histortea. This week we're diving into the supernatural and exploring one of the most recognisable and troublesome spirit types, the poltergeist.
Where did they come from? What causes them to act up? And what can you do if you encounter one? We'll also have a look at how these mischievous miscreants are represented in modern culture and if they deserve their reputation.
Also, in this week's Ridiculous Death, we'll look at why you should leave lightning well enough alone.
For now, hide the sharp stuff, keep a close eye on your chairs,
and let's get dark. So, is a poltergeist exactly? Well, the word itself is German in origin and means nosy spirit. So it's a type of ghost, but some of the traits of a poltergeist seem to differ depending on the haunting. One thing that can be agreed upon, however, is that they delight in making life difficult for the poor people living with them.
There is some debate over when the earliest known example of a poltergeist activity was recorded, and there is evidence of a case from the 1st century CE, which we'll go into in a minute. The majority of cases, however, seem to come from the 17th century onwards.
That's not to say that they didn't exist before then. We maybe just identified them in a different way, and so you'd have to really dig into the ghost stories before the 17th century to find out, and good luck on doing that, as they're not overly easy to find.
There is another theory as to a sudden uptick in poltergeist activity around that time, though, which we'll talk about later once we've given a few stories of these problematic phantoms and what they're capable of.
So, 94 AD. This is the first known recorded instance of poltergeist activity. Historian Flavius Josephus?
Flavius Josephus.
I mean, basically exactly what I said. Recorded his presence at an exorcism being performed by the priest Eleazar to draw on unclean spirit from the body of a possessed person.
By all accounts, the exorcism was going well, which is what you want. But at the moment that the spirit seemed to release its hold on the victim, a bowl of water on the other side of the room tipped over violently. Not most exciting of accounts, sure. Notable for the history of it.
How is tipping a bowl of... How can you tip over a bowl of water violently? Because you can't say it was thrown or kicked or shoved. It was tipped over like a... bloop.
I'd like to think that probably it was like the spirit of a cat. And when he was finally released from the body, he was like, fine, walk, and just knocked it over.
That is what we're saying it is. It's not canon, but that is what we're saying it is.
It's canon.
Oh, yes. That was not planned or rehearsed. That was off the top of your head. So, the Little Drummer Boy.
Mm-hmm.
In 1662, author Joseph Glanville published his book
Sadducismus Triumphatus. Are you laughing at the word the fart in there?
Yes, I am. He published that book in the hopes that it would turn skeptics of the supernatural and higher powers into believers.
He recorded an instance of poltergeist haunting in Tedworth in England. The story is that one John Mumperson had taken up a lawsuit against a local drummer for extortion, and as part of his victory in the lawsuit, Mumperson took the drum.
What else? Almost that very night, the sound of ghostly drums filled the house, depriving Mumperson of sleep. This continued every night until Mumperson finally consulted a priest.
The priest's verdict was that the drummer was getting his revenge on Mumperson by using witchcraft to summon a poltergeist to carry out the nightly drumming. In the end, Mumperson returned the drum and the nightly percussion stopped.
Of course it did. It was removed from his house.
I mean, probably. Petty people could be. It's probably actually the drummer with a completely different drum standing outside his house near a window drumming.
I would. If someone just decided to randomly take my drum, I'd be like, you know what? Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. I'm absolutely going to do this to you now.
Yeah, I'm going to play the drum every night until you call a priest.
Anyway, the Epworth Rectory. Staying in England, which seems to have more than its fair share of poltergeists, we have the Epworth Rectory in Lincolnshire. The first report came from the Weasley family on Christmas Day. Is that Wesley?
Wesley. Careful, your Harry Potter showing.
Oh.
Right.
Oh,
Don't come for us, Rowling.
the Weasley family on Christmas Day. I mean, if I didn't mess up names, we would not be this podcast.
This is true. This is true. Right. Try again. Deep breath.
The first report came from the Wesley family on Christmas Day in 1716 with sounds of loud knocking and noises.
The family thought at first that it was the spirit of their eldest daughter, who they had nicknamed Old Geoffrey.
I mean, if that was me, I'd be a bit pissed and covered, you know.
She was also the oldest of 19, so her poor mother.
The family heard walking in the room above them, running up and down the stairs, and other noises. This continued for about a month, and as much as they tried, Mr. and Mrs. Wesley could not find a logical source for the noises.
In January 1717, all noises suddenly stopped, as mysteriously as they had started. It was only short-lived, but the story has continued to this day.
So it lasted like a week.
Yeah, basically.
Fair. Oh, the Bell Witch. Hopping over the pond now to America, specifically to Adams in Tennessee, and one of the most notorious hauntings of the country. At the start of the 19th century, John Bell Sr. alleged that he was being harassed by the spirit of a witch named Kate Batts.
Activity started with noises inside the walls, scratching and shuffling sounds they could find no logical source for. The sounds moved around the house and then could be heard outside the front door.
Residents and visitors reported being slapped and pinched, physically assaulted by unseen forces. Animals weren't left alone either, reportedly becoming spooked by something unseen by humans.
Sightings were reported by Mr. Bell of a strange half-dog, half-rabbit creature running around his land. That's a weird combination.
Which half?
I don't know which half is worse. I mean, imagine a dog, but with a rabbit's head.
I mean, less fighting.
Yes, but imagine a dog's head, like a German Shepherd's head, on a bunny. Like, firstly, how would it move? Hang on, if it's a rabbit, it's small. Is it not just seeing a dachshund?
Maybe.
Anyway, he saw this half-dog, half-rabbit running around. His daughter then saw a girl in a green dress hanging from the limb of an oak tree. One of the family's enslaved workers, Dean, claimed to have been followed around by a large black dog.
As activity increased, John Bell Sr. claimed to be struck by a paralysis of the mouth. Bed sheets were pulled from the children's beds whilst they slept, hair was pulled, and his daughter was struck with pins.
Communication was attempted with the spirit, and it responded and claimed to have been disturbed from a Native American burial mound on the grounds.
Further communication from the spirit revealed an interest in religious discussions, but also in the local gossip.
I mean,
honestly, everyone loves tea.
Yeah, an old American poltergeist basically being the spiritual version of Lady Whistledown.
I've listened.
Yep.
It was known to be able to visit other households on command and could relay information to and from others at a distance, mimicking the voices of those it had allegedly spoken to.
See, that would be really useful. It'd be like a spiritual telephone.
Wouldn't it?
The spirit took a disliking to John Bell Sr., though, and threatened repeatedly to kill him. When the paralysis, which was, if we're being honest, likely a stroke, took him, it was claimed the spirit of the witch had poisoned him. Even in death he could not escape, as the spirit interrupted his wake by loudly singing drinking songs.
How would he know?
I mean, he wouldn't, but everybody else that was around him, commemorating his death, celebrating his life, and then all of a sudden there's just, from nowhere in particular, rowdy drinking songs.
Could you imagine?
Yep. I mean, I've been to Irish funerals before. That's
Eventually, the spirit declared that it was going to leave in 1821, but would return in 7 years. It's always 7, isn't it?
Yeah.
It kept to its word, returning in 1828, but the family did not engage with the spirit as before, and eventually it seemed to just leave.
Just got bored.
Yep, it's like, I'm here to annoy you.
Yep.
I mean, talk to me. Talk to me.
Notice me.
Talk to me.
Many stories have sprung up about who the witch could have been and why she was tormenting John Bell Sr. so, and she's now very much a part of American folklore, being the subject of many books and films, even being inspiration behind the Blair Witch Project movies.
Fair. The truth is, nobody knows who it really was or why it was there. Even the Bell family weren't sure.
Paranormal investigation teams still investigate the area looking for the Bell Witch.
Yeah.
But the poltergeist activity hasn't returned to that level.
Fair one.
So, to England now.
Yay!
2011, no less. And to the city where we met at university, Coventry.
Way! Back in 2011, Lisa Manning and her family reported a troublesome spirit in their property. Temperatures dropped, strange noises were heard throughout the house in empty rooms, furniture moved by itself, and drawers opened and closed at will.
Things ramped up when the poltergeist decided to have a smashing time with every pot and pan in the kitchen. Even the kettle wasn't safe. I know, it's a travesty. The family started receiving strange scratches, including the children.
Priests and mediums were called in, but nothing seemed to work. Eventually, the family turned to famous medium Derek Okora, who attended to investigate, and interestingly, the haunting seemed to stop following his visit.
Nobody really knows if this was a hoax or something more, but interestingly enough, the family who occupied the property before Ms. Manning and her family moved in had vacated in a hurry, leaving all of their possessions behind, including newly laid carpets. In our experience, you don't put down new carpets if you're planning to scarper the next week.
Well, no.
No.
This made me laugh that he was Jim.
Yep.
Jim the Coventry Ghost.
I mean, we've got another fantastically named ghost coming up in a minute, so brace yourself. First, we've got one of the stories that has actually... It scared me the first time I read this one.
Oh, okay. Borley Rectory.
Yes.
One of the most haunted houses in England, an accolade given by renowned parapsychologist Harry Price, he of the Enfield haunting fame, and about which he wrote 2 books. And we've done a podcast on the Enfield haunting.
We have indeed. Built in 1863, it was reported to be haunted pretty early on, with local legends of beheaded monks, phantom coaches, and heartbroken nuns. Admittedly, some of the local legends may still be unsubstantiated, but we all love a good ghost story, right?
Facts, or we wouldn't be doing podcasts if we didn't.
Exactly.
The first recorded paranormal activity was the sound of footsteps heard by the servants. Then, from 1885, the activity picked up with stones being thrown seemingly from nowhere and objects moving by themselves.
The spirit of a nun has been seen several times throughout the brief history of the property, and whispered words were heard throughout the rooms and hallways.
During Harry Price's investigation in 1929, a glass roof was broken, a candlestick was smashed, and more stones were thrown.
Things started to increase with strange smells of perfume and incense, objects being thrown, writing appearing on walls and paper, doors locking and unlocking at will, and furniture being overturned.
But that was not the worst of it. During the time of the Foyster family, who moved in from October 1930, spontaneous fires began cropping up throughout the property.
Things seemed to focus on the daughter, Marianne Foyster, with her fainting and being locked in her room. She eventually became so ill that the family moved out in 1935, leaving the rectory vacant.
Price continued to investigate, renting out the rectory in 1937 to do so, but he kept no official log of his events that we know of, which is strange in itself.
Yeah.
He did, however, authorise an excavation of the rectory cellars and nearby church in 1943, which uncovered various religious medallions, a female jawbone, lending some slight credence to a theory that a nun was murdered and buried at the rectory.
The rectory was eventually demolished in 1944, after which time the poltergeist activity decreased in the land and the nearby church.
Decreased, but not stopped.
Yep, it's still there, and apparently you can still see the ghost of the nun walking around the grounds.
Wow.
Yeah. No, thank you.
No.
Absolutely not. Right. This one is one that the first time I heard it, I was like, excuse me?
I remember the voice note you messaged me when you found this.
Thing is, there has actually recently been a film about this. And yeah, it's interesting. So, this is a story of Jeff, the talking mongoose.
No! First of all, what is a mongoose?
It's like, it looks like a weasel, but I think it's from a similar sort of family, but I think it's bigger and it can eat snakes.
Fair.
Yep.
So,
I'll show you a picture later.
amazing.
So, in the hamlet of Dalby, on the Isle of Man, a small island in the Irish Sea between England and Ireland, there was a poltergeist case in the 1930s.
The Irving family reported hearing persistent scratching, rustling, and voices behind their walls. They thought it could be a ferret or a small dog, but then the spirit introduced itself.
It told them that it was called Jeff, a mongoose born in 1852 in New Delhi, India.
He told the family that he was a highly intelligent spirit in the form of a mongoose, but with human hands and feet.
Jeff was allegedly a good ghostly mutated mongoose, though, because he protected the family. He warned them of uninvited guests approaching, put out fires that people left on the stove, and even kept the house free of rats and mice. He would even go with them to the local market, nudging away as they walked, but invisible to others.
Despite him being very vocal, apparently there was not a lot of physical evidence of Jeff, though a number of visitors claimed to have heard his voice.
Until her death in 2005, the youngest member of the Irving family, the daughter, Vori, maintained that Jeff was real.
Jeff, the talking. It was the line that you said that he was a good ghostly mutated mongoose. Like, what are we doing with our lives, Carrie?
The thing is, Jeff the mongoose isn't the most absurdly named part of that story. What I've missed out is the name of the investigator that was brought to look into it.
Go on.
About whom the film was made, and I think in the film he's played by Simon Pegg. Nandor Fodor.
What?
His name was Nandor Fodor.
I mean, I kind of do and don't want to watch this movie.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's because I was actually on the Isle of Man when I heard it, because I went with my mum, we kind of travelled around, and I just remember we picked up a book of, I've still got it at home, of Isle of Man superstitions and folklore stories.
Yeah.
And Jeff the Talking Mongoose is in there, alongside things like the Moddy Doo and Manana Maclia, the god of the sea. And
Jeff the Talking Mongoose.
Jeff the Talking Mongoose. And it's spelled G-E-F. Jeff.
Not the Manima Jeff.
Manima
Jeff.
Nope. It is Jeff the Talking Mongoose.
Amazing.
Good talking mongoose.
Good. Mutilated talking mongoose.
Mutated, not mutilated. Poor mongoose.
I mean, he had human hands and feet. That's pretty mutilated.
Yeah, that's fair.
Thank you. I was right. Anyway, let's go over to
Caneto di Carogna.
Exactly that. In the early 2000s, in Caneto di Carogna, Italy, a series of mysterious explosions and fires spread throughout the town, starting with the home of Antonio
Pezzino.
My mouth was not mouthing.
Yeah.
Where his television exploded without warning. Probably old.
Fuse boxes, electronic car door locks, electronic appliances, and even wedding gifts spontaneously combusted.
In February of 2004, the mayor ordered an evacuation of all citizens to a nearby hotel, and the power was cut to the town, but fires did not stop. Between January and March 2004, a total of 92 fires were reported across this small town.
An interdisciplinary task force was brought in to investigate, but no concrete scientific explanation has yet been found, and arson has also been ruled out.
The citizens returned home in June 2004, and things seemed to die down. But in mid-2014, the fires started up again. Pezzino and his son, Giuseppe, were arrested for arson and conspiracy to commit fraud, but this was based on evidence gathered after the initial incidences, where they were perpetrators or simply copycats of the original paranormal culprit.
I mean, how bad do things have to be that a poltergeist haunts an entire town and gets them to run to the nearest hotel?
Pretty bad.
But also, imagine getting one of those, spontaneously combusting wedding gifts. Like, boom.
Could you?
That's a bad day.
Isn't it?
That is things not going to plan.
One hell of a bad day.
Right. Now we get to arguably one of the most famous cases. This was in England, and it would be remiss of us not to mention it. However, we've been very deliberate in not really talking about it because we already have. We covered the Enfield haunting in detail in a much earlier Dark Cup episode, and in that we also talked about some of the possible causes of poltergeist activity.
Yes. So, now poltergeists themselves can be caused by angry spirits who have a bit too much energy and way too much access to breakable objects.
There's also a school of thought, emphasised with the Enfield haunting, that certain people can cause poltergeist activity to increase.
You see, spirits are energy, and they can use energy to manifest and also to increase their own activity and power. The belief is that people who are going through a particularly troubled time, such as excessive anger or grief, can cause spirit activity to increase because of the negative energy that they emit.
This is exacerbated further with teenagers, particularly teenage girls. Rampant hormones, intense mood swings, existential and identity crises, pretty much a daily occurrence for some teens. And this intense energy is likely a banquet for the right kind of spirit.
Think like an Obscurus in Fantastic Beasts. All of that intense energy can sometimes manifest itself as a physical force, acting out on behalf of the troubled soul, who is oftentimes the victim of their own personal poltergeist, and who has no real control over it. It takes on an afterlife of its own, you could say.
The theory as to why activity like this has increased since the 1600s? Well, think of all the turmoil and upheaval. Witch hunts, mass religious upheaval, persecution, wars on an international and eventually global scale, poverty, disease, revolutions, basically human civilization hitting its teenage years. All of that energy has got to go somewhere.
Absolutely. Now, popular culture has different ways of showing poltergeists.
Yeah.
And like a lot of spirits, they have captured the public imagination. Stories are being told constantly of their antics, and you don't have to look far on YouTube or various paranormal footage TV shows to find alleged video evidence. For example, the Deer Park School in Cork in Ireland. Though a lot are debunked as hoaxes, there's no doubt they still get a lot of airtime.
The Deer Park School one in Cork, that's interesting because there's nobody around, so it's out of hours, it's overnight, and it's a school CCTV, and you see chairs moving, and they've tried to debunk it by someone's tied a wire around a chair and pulled it into the room, and the way it pulls, it does not follow the same trajectory as the chair in the video. There's also lockers that are opening and closing.
Oh, I've seen the locker video.
Yeah, and stuff that goes flying off the top of the lockers and posters that come down from walls, and everyone's like, oh yeah, it's a hoax. But I've seen people actually investigate it and try and recreate it, and they can't. It's very, very difficult. The Enfield haunting has spawned films and TV series, as well as books. Borley Rectory is the subject of a number of films and books, and even Jeff the Mongoose, as we mentioned, is a local legend on the Isle of Man and has now spawned a film.
There is also the Poltergeist film and recent remake. Carrie, you've not seen them yet.
No, I haven't.
Em will not be seeing them.
We acknowledge that coulrophobia, the fear of clowns, is a seriously debilitating condition and one that we do not take lightly on this podcast.
We do not. No, even though I have recently watched The Devil in Disguise, John Wayne Gacy dramatisation thing that was on TV.
Yeah. And we've talked about him before as well.
Yeah, we're doing a podcast on him as well. That is coming up. Spoilers in a later episode.
Have we done John Wayne Gacy? We've done John Wayne Gacy already.
See, that's how scared I am. I put that out of my brain.
Yep.
Yes, we have. And I did the research for that one to try and get over my fear and clearly blacked out.
And we also did on a previous...
We're not planning around about this one.
Nope. And on a previous Histortea Awards, one of the award winners was We Don't Have a Clown Statue, which when I read that to you, I could visibly see shrinking. Even I was like, nope.
Yeah.
If you have your own poltergeist story, please let us know.
Yes, please do.
Doubly so if you have footage. This is a safe, spook-free place, we think.
Maybe.
Yeah. We love the bizarre, the weirdly wonderful, the macabre, and apparently the poltergeistal. Is that a word? It is now.
Poltergeistal.
And
poltergeistly. I obviously cannot... We can't say much. But if you do like the paranormal and the spookiness going on, maybe keep your eyes out for our next book.
Yes. Keep a weather eye.
We're currently writing book number 3. Well, not book number 3 of the current series. This is a different book from a different series of books, but it is the written book number 3.
Yeah. I also apologise. I just clapped my hands together and realised it made a very loud noise. So I apologise. That was not your sound systems breaking. That was me being a pleb.
Standard.
Yeah. So ridiculous stuff.
So, this week's ridiculous death is George Wilhelm Reichmann. Thank you very much. He was born on the 22nd of July in 1711 and he died on the 6th of August. He was a Russian psychiatrist of Baltic German origin who did pioneering work on electricity, atmospheric electricity, and he died in a ironic, I guess, way for him.
Okay.
So, as I said, he was born in the Swedish Empire, which is now Estonia.
Mm-hmm.
And his father died of plague before he was born.
Yeah.
So he had there was a lot of kind of death in his life as he was growing up. He spent a lot of his life after his education as a professor of physics at the university in St. Petersburg, and was the centre of scientific research. There he dealt with problems of thermodynamics with investigations to electrical phenomena. He became famous for establishing the first general equation for calorimetric calculations. It's bad when I'm doing something that you know nothing about, so you cannot help with the wording, so I do apologise.
I trust you.
Yeah. He became famous for his investigations on thunderstorm electricity.
Okay.
Which kind of makes his death a bit ridiculous. He was electrocuted in St. Petersburg on the 6th of August while trying to quantify the response of an insulated rod to a nearby storm.
Right.
He is said to have been attending a meeting at the Academy of Sciences when he heard thunder.
Mm.
He ran home with his engraver and capture the event for posterity. While his experiment was underway, a discharge reported to have been a ball of lightning. It appeared and collided with his head, leaving him with a red spot in the middle of his forehead, which didn't look too bad. However, his left shin was blew off and parts of his clothes were singed.
Oh, so it full on grounded.
The ball lightning arising from the apparatus was his cause of death, and there was an explosion after that was like a small cannon. It knocked the engraver out, split the room's door frame and tore the door off its hinges. This incident represented the very first documented case of ball lightning, and he appears to have been the first person in history to have lost his life while conducting electrical experiments on something of which he was investigating and was supposed to be like an academic on.
So basically, he harnessed the lightning, created ball lightning, and then got bonked on the bonce by said lightning, which grounded through him and zapped everything inside him.
Yeah. But he spent his life looking into electrical storms. I mean, he went to get this storm to document it.
He died doing what he loved, I guess.
Electrical balls? Balls of electric?
Who doesn't like a lightning ball to the face? I mean, it's the fact that was the first. He could have genuinely had written down and been given accolades for the first recorded instance of ball lightning, but instead he's remembered as the guy that died from the lightning he created.
Yep, that is exactly what happened.
That is unfortunate. Right.
Yeah.
On that note,
we shall be back in a couple of weeks. I can't believe we've done 3 episodes. We've done 6 weeks.
We're on a roll.
We are. This is it now. This is us. We are back, and I'm saying it.
You're putting it out there now.
Putting it out there.
We're jinxing it now.
Yeah.
If you have any suggestions for any future episodes, let us know. Our socials are still the same. So we are Facebook. We are E&C Creative Curiosities Facebook now, aren't we? And on Instagram as well. Instagram, that's the sad version of it. Instagram, EC Creative Curiosities.
Have a nice cup of histortea.
We do.
Everything is on E&C Creative Curiosities.
Yeah, we also have a website you can contact us through, which is E&C, as in ampersand, Creative Curiosities. And you can email us at cupofhistortea, all one word, at outlook.com. If you've got an episode, if you've got a poltergeist story, or if you have your own podcast and you would like us to play an advert for you.
Yes, get in touch.
All right.
Bye.